with Gable Steveson teasing a WrestleMania appearance and more. This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report for February 14th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at WrestlingHubOfficial and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. On the Pat McAfee show, Seth Rollins talked about his childhood memories from pro wrestling and also touched on how he was supposed to train with CM Punk. By the time I was 14, we're talking Attitude Era, so we're talking DX, Stone Cold, NWO, and WCW, and I was in love. I couldn't do anything else. So we had a trampoline and me and my friends, we would just bounce around. We were putting on shows in our backyard. I wanted to get trained. I always wanted to get trained. I never wanted to be one of those guys who got into the industry and have kind of a blackball like, oh, he never got trained, he just got in. Paying your dues, your respects for people who put in the time and all that stuff. So I actually went and got trained. I moved out to Philadelphia in a car, I packed up all my crap, I went out there and I was going to get trained by CM Punk. CM Punk, who is a big star in WWE and now works for the other company. No, but I didn't have the money. I had no idea how to live on my own because I never went to college. I couldn't even do my own laundry. I didn't know what I was doing. I was an idiot. I ended up not having the money. I ended up moving back. And so I ended up training out at a shipping warehouse in Chicago in the dead of winter in '04. And so it was freezing cold. I trained the local independent guy. His name is Danny Daniels. Yeah, Double D. And he taught me everything I know about the business for the most part. Rollins would also say he wishes he wasn't an undersized guy in wrestling. For me, my thing in my wrestling, and I knew I was always an undersized guy. I'm 6'1", I'm a little over 200 pounds. I'm Shawn Michaels, I'm Bret Hart, I'm in that category of guys. I'm not these guys. I'm not these large-in-the-life dudes who can just cut a promo and throw some punches. I wish I was. If I was Shanky, this would be great. I would stand there, I would flare my lats, and I would chop somebody in the head. During his days in WWE, Miro had an incredible reign as US champion that would see him defend his title against John Cena at WrestleMania 31. On the Kurt Angle show, Miro touched on Cena teaching him wrestling psychology. Oh man, John is the best. John is absolutely the best. I learned so much from him even to this day. Once again, he's such a teacher. He's so good and he's one of those guys, what's your 4 best moves? That's what I learned from him that I utilize to this day. He asked you that not because he just wants to highlight you in the best spot, in the best lighting, so he's just trying to understand in his head where he's going to put these 4 best moves. I learned that. I learned psychology of a match a lot more. I learned how to control a match because beating up John for 10 minutes, 15 minutes a night, the whole time, what he's doing is he's talking. All I'm doing is just listening, and then after the match, he's telling me why we did this. You hear the crowd was here. We're trying to get it there. That's why we did this. This whole thing, I found out it's all about psychology. During that same interview, Miro would also touch on his release from WWE, noting that he lost it. I was so happy. I kind of lost it for 30 seconds. The whole pandemic thing was happening, and we were just trying to fight for some kind of rights, because it's not right that we have to fly every week to TV in all of these circumstances without anybody caring. It leaked out that we were on it, and I think a few days later I was released. I lost it for a little bit because I was more concerned about the health and the safety protocol. I got released, but I was so happy because I knew right away that I'm going to go and do what I know I can do. I never had any doubts how good I am, and if your company doesn't appreciate me, I'm going to find a different company that does. Miro would also note that Triple H played a role in trying to get him and Lana called up to the main roster together. There was a question if Lana was going to debut on SmackDown with Rusev because that was also another issue that we had with Vince. Vince always loves his big monsters by themselves, and he thinks that the women take away from the heat. But thanks to Triple H, he fought for it. He believed in me and Lana as a unit, as a package. Thankfully to that, we debuted on SmackDown. We started doing the vignettes with CJ, which I thought was absolutely the better choice. I don't think Rusev by himself would be as over without Lana being there. He was so much better. despite only recently losing its WWE title, it appears the company is no longer interested in pushing Big E as a singles wrestler. On the Throwing Down podcast, WWE personality Peter Rosenberg mentioned Big E's booking in the promotion, saying when he won the title, and I told him this the other day, I admitted this to him. I was in this awkward position of when you won the title, everyone was so hyped up, and I didn't like the way you got it. I didn't think it made sense. I thought it was really rushed. It were just one night like Big E is cashing in tonight. It was promoted and here's the time. They literally ran a commercial break between him cashing in and the match. Can you do any more to suspend any sort of disbelief about what the cash in is? The funny thing is, all these smart wrestling fans, they're all like, we know wrestling so well, but when someone wins a title, they think that's the only thing that matters. But how they get the title and what happens once they have the title is more important for their long-term story. As you saw with the way Big E was tossed from the Rumble, they obviously at this moment don't have any real plans. That's how it felt to me. After starting a family, Ronda Rousey would make a return to WWE and win the Women's Royal Rumble. With her set to face Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania for the SmackDown Women's title, Mark Henry suggested Ronda use her motherhood to become a better babyface, saying this on Busted Open Radio. What can be done is you can start slowly integrating her into doing the babyface things. You can have her do the community involvement and the association of being around the kids. She's a mom now. She's got to make statements. Hey, I gotta be better. I have to be better. I gotta be a better example for my family, for my daughter. I have to be a better example for the fans. I have to be a better example for the other women in pro wrestling. Now, that tells me, okay, this person is on the nicer side of things. You have to keep her moving with a trajectory of positivity and success. With women's wrestling talk, Impact Knockouts champion Mickie James mentioned her career aspirations and named some potential opponents. I am everywhere. I would say within Impact, maybe Jordan Grace. Done a lot of cool things. She's very different than me in the ring and very stylistically and just a powerhouse. I think that would be really cool. NWA, I'm going to go with Camille because she's the champ, period. I've watched her since she walked into NWA and how much she's grown since then, and just be the champion there, represent the brand. I think she does a great job. Talking about those she'd like to face from AEW and WWE, Mickie said AEW Britt Baker, I think, period. I feel like, yeah, I've met her a few times. I've just recently actually got to know her, got to chat with her more to kind of get to know her a little bit recently. She's kicking down doors and doing so much amazing stuff over there. She has been and obviously carving out her own kind of path through this whole thing. I applaud her for that. She's kicking ass. That will be fun in a unique match that people wouldn't expect to see, obviously. I always go back to Charlotte because that's the one person there that I didn't get to have a match with or a few and never face off with WWE. So there's, people everywhere. While many were excited to see New Japan's Jay White make his long-awaited AEW debut, Jim Cornette was not pleased with the company's way of hyping the arrival, noting on his podcast that Jay White, has the name Jay White ever been mentioned on this television program ever? Has White even ever wrestled in the US? This is a brand new guy that has never wrestled in this company, possibly never wrestled in this country, and they say his name like John Cena just walked in and everybody would go, oh my god, it's Jay White, the world's about to change. No, seriously. I highly doubt anything will change. This week, White will make his in-ring debut for AEW and Rampage when he takes on Trent. Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson was drafted to the Raw roster in October but is yet to make his television debut for the company. Talking to KTSP, Steveson teased an appearance at WrestleMania 38. It's not slowing down. Right when March ends, I'm going to be picking it up. I think I'm going to head to WrestleMania and probably do something. I don't know what from there. You'll see. It just picks up from there. There is no break. I do things here and there. There are sometimes I will go to Monday Night Raw and I will show up and I'll be in the back. Just sit around, and a lot of those times times I'm really just soaking it in. I look at what Brock does throughout the whole time, I look at Big E, I look at how they handle themselves, and keep it so when my time comes I'm already hip to everything and I'm ready to go. When I go to them, you really never see me on the stage. If someone takes a picture of me backstage, you'll see me backstage, but I'm really there just soaking in the energy, like pinpointing everything they do and everything I see. There's times where I follow Kurt Angle on Instagram. He'll post a video and I'm looking at how he looks, how he talks, how he moves, so when it's my time, I am perfecting it already. Following his lackluster run on WWE's main roster, Keith Lee would be released from the company as he finds himself now a part of AEW. On his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T talked about Lee's AEW debut, saying the Limitless One should be heading for the main event scene. Keith Lee could be that player, and immediately he goes to the top of the food chain, as being one of those guys that can be a player from an AEW world title perspective. Put him right in the mix with anybody, and I think you've got something there. With Chad Gable having formed Alpha Academy with Otis, the two have been in a feud with RK Bro on Monday nights. On After the Bell, Gable talked about this rivalry, noting that he and Otis want to show everyone that tag teams can be a mainstay on Raw. First of all, I think the craziest part of it is how things happen in WWE. Some things seem to happen out of nowhere, and this for us happened out of nowhere. It just happened. We were doing singles matches with Randy and Riddle like we do sometimes here, and never really had a proper tag team. I think they just saw the interaction and the perfect storm of these characters. I think that's what's working so well right now for this program, is it's four perfectly defined characters who the audience knows and who they're looking at. They know who they're listening to every time someone speaks. They're all so distinct and have their own personalities that play together so perfectly, as opposed to two guys in the same tag team that are all the same mindset. I think when we see that on TV and the audience sees that, it's so good to look at because it's different. Maybe people have this idea in their heads that official tag teams need to be the same, and tag team wrestling at its highest form is like an art form like no other. It's so beautiful and you can tell a completely different and unique story than you can in any singles match. I truly believe that, and I learned that on NXT, and it was basically a college education in wrestling. I got a degree in that, but from everybody that I learned from down there, the little intricacies you can apply and do in tag team wrestling that just aren't possible in singles matches. The chance to mix it up and show the audience on Raw, maybe we're finally showing them that tag team wrestling can be the mainstay here and be the focal point for the long term. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.